Hey YouTube, it's
tough as it was
another
for him in the
eBay
lead-up,
package
we're
opening.
kind of
Got
on board.
some
So this
an
was
open package
ball is in the court of Juan
building
Carlos
up.
Osorio,
So
and then he moved away from it all. So it's surprising to hear that because Mexico
we'll
wants you. They're definitely going to get him, but they show how his ticket, how his number has been going up on the world stage. And if you look back, I think at the World Cup, even though they were disappointing, that was a good World Cup for Mexico. They beat Germany. They got through. They just had the disappointing result against the Swedes, and that was that.
I agree with you. I think he definitely has a lot to be proud of, but he did have a lot of headaches on the way there. But my question is now, Max, does this pave the way for Osorio to possibly become the next coach of the U.S.?
Well, a lot has been made about the connections between Osorio and American soccer, from his humble beginnings here to his time, certainly most notably with the Metro Stars, or the Red Bulls, I should say. And it seems like a good fit. And I think for U.S. soccer, I mean, who do you go? There's three really good American candidates that I think I would be happy to see all get a sniff here. In Berhalter, Greg Balder of the Columbus Crew, obviously Peter Vermes of Sporting Kansas City, and Greg Vanney of Toronto FC, who's with Toronto, who's struggling right now, but was the champions of MLS. After that, I've met Anthony Stewart in real life. I have autograph of
his rookie card putting a reputation on when he was in Vancouver attending Chris Stewart's
seems like the smart move if you're them and Ernie Stewart and whoever you decide to go. So if you want a sexier pick than someone that's Major League Soccer, you have it all in a bow tie in Juan Carlos Osorio, and sweetening the pot. He just moved away from Mexico, turned them away, and now you can pounce on that. So outside of a few sexy candidates maybe from Europe or South America, I think Juan Carlos Osorio is going to have to get a long, long look here, and I wouldn't be surprised in the least if we get an announcement that he will be the head coach of U.S. Soccer.
Well, after Mexico lost to Brazil at the World Cup, I know I had a little bit of a talk with Brian McBride, and he said right now for U.S. Soccer, with all due respect to international coaches, he just likes to see it he likes to see them keep it local. Somebody who understands the U.S. grassroots program from the very basic level straight up to the top. Are you of that view, Max?
Not necessarily, but I think you're putting yourself in a real precarious spot if you go out and say you got someone like Tata Martino of Atlanta United. This is someone you're bringing in, or Jorge Sampaoli, who has been mentioned. I like both those candidates, but you're putting yourself out there. If they don't hit the spots, okay. If an American coach doesn't do it, or if Osorio doesn't do it, I don't think you get that pushback or that criticism as much. There's so many parts, and I would bow down to Brian McBride's expertise here and how he knows the operation of U.S. soccer. There are so many comfort zones that I think U.S. soccer has gravitated towards, and it's served them well over the years. The one thing is maybe some of their coaching candidates were a little bit older in the tooth, but now you get someone young and exciting, certainly the three American candidates, or Osorio, who's a little bit above there, but these are guys with good candidates. So if you have guys like that you're happy with, why go elsewhere? I would like them to look, but I don't think there's enough reason for them to really throw out a big net and search in that department.
Gentlemen, what do you guys think of this?
In terms of Osorio, I think it's just too soon. Given the history between Mexico's national team and the U.S. men's national team, I just feel that short a jump. And as much as I understand and respect Osorio's own history in U.S. soccer, I just think it's a little too soon. As far as who comes next for the U.S. men's national team, I'll be honest, I'm neither here nor there. I think that program does need somebody who wants to coach first. I think in Bruce Arena you had somebody who was a more manager, but given the youth you expect to make up the nucleus of this team, certainly for the next cycle, it has to be somebody who's on the training ground, coaching first and foremost.
If he wants the job, give him it tomorrow.
Just like that.
This is an unusual situation.
Back in
you look at the furor over the US not qualifying. Now you've got a chance to get a guy who knows the American player inside out. He knows CONCACAF inside out. He's shown what he can do with Mexico. He made them play attacking football. This guy has all the credentials that, in my opinion, the US should snap his hand off and give him a job tomorrow.
All right, thanks so much, guys. We're going to let Max
Alexis,
Go on, Max.
Sorry, Alexis, I would add too that this next cycle he is going to be coaching based on all accounts, a young U.S. team. It's going to be guys that are growing into the job. And I don't know if Osorio is the best for that. I would imagine he is. He did that with certain young Mexican players. But that's something that they really need a coach to be very adept at, because that young players who need guidance, that's going to be the team that's going to be probably on the field in 2020.
Bayern Munich president Uli Hoeneß, he says, "I'm glad this nightmare is over. He's been playing crap for years. The last tackle he won was before the 2014 World Cup, and now he's hiding himself and his poor performances behind his photo. His 35 million followers that, of course, do not actually exist in the real world, ensure that Ozil has played exceptionally when he successfully finds his man with a square ball. When we faced Arsenal, we always played through him because we knew that he is the weak link." All right, well, Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nicol, of course, weren't on the shows yesterday. So, Shaka, just your reaction to this. Are you surprised by the negative reaction?
I'm very surprised. I think the comments by Uli Hoeneß are misdirected. I think intentionally so. I also think they're cowardly. And I also think that they show a total lack of understanding. Now, why I say they're misdirected? If Uli Hoeneß is right in saying that Mesut Ozil has not played well in a Germany shirt for the last 2 years, then surely that's a Jürgen Löw, because he keeps picking him. You can't fault Mesut Ozil if the manager calls on you and you go out there and you play and you give it your best. If that isn't good enough, it's now down to the manager. And why I say it's intentionally misdirected, it's because you can't help but feel that given Jürgen Löw's position, given all that he's accomplished for Germany with the national team, maybe not soon, maybe sometime soon, he will be on Bayern Munich's radar. So don't come out and overly criticize Jürgen Löw, because maybe one day we might have to play nice with Jürgen Löw, which is why I say it was intentionally misdirected. I also think it smacked of a lack of understanding in that players who have to deal with this duality, as we were speaking about, players who only know one country as their home, but their heritage is from another. We've dealt with that all our lives. This is nothing new. This duality doesn't come with success. It doesn't come with pulling on a national team jersey. It becomes, and why I say it's cowardly is because it now becomes easy to blame him, because he has this dual citizenship or this duality of identity. It becomes very cowardly in blaming Mesut Ozil. And you expect so much more from anybody associated with a club like Bayern Munich, in my mind, and
in the background,
seems like one of the best run football clubs in the
German
world.
soccer.
So to have Uli Hoeneß be this reckless with his comments, be this cowardly with what he has to say, it has me aghast and no real surprise to see Mesut Ozil react the way that he has. Even putting out this statement before Uli Hoeneß had to react.
Stevie, you were tweeting about this. This got you fired up as well.
Well, Uli Hoeneß has just been a complete and utter hypocrite. You know, this whole thing questioning Ozil's commitment to his country. Uli Hoeneß is a guy who was put in jail. He was put in jail for fraud, and basically the fraud was against his own country. And then somehow he's back at Bayern Munich as the president. I mean, why? This is what we should be talking about. We should be talking about Ozil. 92 caps. Do you understand how committed you have to be as a player to earn 92 caps for your country? And not only did he go 92 times, he brought back a World Cup. And because of this, the way we live, it's all political correctness now. Because of that,
McDavid,
a guy who should be a legend in Germany for what he did on the field is going to be remembered now because of this nonsense. That's ridiculous.
The amazing thing is, and you know, just watching the show yesterday and Ralph Honigstein talking about the failure at the World Cup. I mean, and maybe his picture with Erdogan being making it for an unnecessarily toxic dressing room. If that pictures the difference between you defending the World Cup and going out in the group stage, then I'm sorry, it's a desperately weak dressing room. The photo he had absolutely nothing to do with Germany's failure. And again, it's cowardly to look for that easy an excuse for that big a failure. And it's cowardly to pick on somebody because of that duality of identity.
Welcome! They were supposed to sing into extra time.
So,
Goodness! Talk about team players.
We give it the old, I will.
Well, welcome into extra time with a very unenthusiastic Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nickel. Guys, ready for some questions?
Here we go.
I'm a fan of the first one.
Easy questions. I'm not answering any hard questions.
So, that's going to do it, guys.
Quinn Lampkin
Thanks
wants
for
to
watching.
know, Shaka,
And,
when's the next time you've gone on vacation?
see you guys for the next video.
I'll have you know,
Please
Quinn, we
drop
were
a like,
sitting down planning
subscribe,
the show
comment
as
down below,
diligently as we do today.
and
Shaka,
see you guys next time. Thanks for
Shaka,
watching.
did you request